We're going to take that again. So, good afternoon. This is Catherine Cooley, founder of Peaceable, sharing some time with you today from the Peace Parlor. As a mediator and communication coach, I help people to resolve conflicts and create consistently peaceful, cooperative, and joyful relationships at work and at home. You can find out more at peaceable.com. That's ACEABL, no E at the end. Thanks. And to understand why we gather here in the Peace Parlor, please ask yourself this one question. What is the one source for joy, happiness, and success in my life? And if you're like most people, the answer is relationships, your relationship. The most detailed long-term study of human happiness ever undertaken is the 80-year-old Harvard University study of adult development. Dr. Robert Waldinger, current director of the study, said the surprising finding is that how happy we are in our relationships has a powerful influence on our health. Those who kept warm relationships live longer and happier. What the Harvard study does not show you, however, is how to have those successful, warm, life-giving relationships. That's where the Peace Parlor comes in, to bring us people who are successful in the relationship and living their lives with great courage, creativity, leadership, and love. What are their relationships like? And what have they learned about relating and inspiring people? We get to hear their stories here. And we usually have a little time at the end for our live webinar participants to ask questions of our guest. You can enter these in the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen, or actually on your screen, it's at the top, I am told. Yes, our guest today is right here with you, Jon Reason. And welcome, Jon. So nice to have you here. And before I start our conversation, I want to tell people a little bit about what I have learned about you. And I'm sorry about that. I have my, well, basically, Jon is and he has started a couple different companies and taken them big. And these are tech companies. And then had a shift in the past few years and left that world and has really dove in to creating, and I love this term, creating an ecosystem for humanity. So that's about us living, as my understanding, more joyfully, more sustainably, and more on purpose, more able to really be fulfilled as human beings. And so we are going to learn more about that soon. And in addition, Jon has a lot of gifts in martial yoga, dance, improv, besides the tech part, and many other things, community building. So the list is long, and it's really awesome to have you here, Jon. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Pleasure to be here. So grateful for this opportunity.
Yeah, me too. And I usually like to start these conversations with letting you dive into what is your mission, what is your purpose, like what motivates you, what gets you up on Monday mornings, if you have such a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel for me, my motivation and inspiration is always in the current moment. You know, I guess the overall motivation that is my key and primary driving force right now is creating an environment where we can synergistically work together and bridge the gap between work and home, work and play, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Can you say more about that, like what that looks like or what you've learned about that process?
Sure. So I'm sure that most of us have heard the old term, well, this is just business. This is doing business. And business is designed in this system that has been created, co-created by all of us, to be an egoic structure designed for capital gains for the shareholders. And there's a very competitive dog world out there. And so we basically disconnect from our humanity and our feelings and create this very intellectualized, dogmatic, lots of times boxed in business structure that limits innovation and creativity. And realistically, that is not a fun place or fun environment to be in. And we like to, so many people are looking to work from home and do their own thing, create their own business. However, the system has designed a separation there and is employing this insecurity in us that says we cannot create and we cannot launch. And so we have that obstacle to overcome to then essentially escape the prison of the 9 to 5 and bridge that we just live, and our living is what creates money, and we're abundant, and we create our dream life because we can, we want to, and we will.
And when you say, like, when you think about small business owners creating their own business from home, and you talk about separation there, what do you see that's happening because of how the system is, and maybe what do you see as alternatives to that?
Sure. So the way that we are shown how to be successful in entrepreneurship is, being the biggest, best that we can be. Like, okay, we're going to make this. It's about the mentality is about making money and pride typically. And us that are awakening and realizing that that's not the way, realize, well, wait, it's about, the creation, and it's about the inspiration. And then there's this like middle ground of that there's a certain way to present to the matrix, the system, to receive clients and customers. And there's an internal controversy over an internal conflict within ourselves on presenting to the matrix, but not really wanting to be part of it. And so there's this this confusion on how to really thrive and feel good, because we are taught to separate, and each individual organization, each business is its own entity, not really cooperating together. And really, especially with communities, where it comes into is that when we all come together and then start sharing resources and move past that of fear that we're going to be taken advantage of, or whatever the fear is, and we actually believe that we can work together, then the businesses created symbiotically can support each other, and we can shine and reflect back to each other, empowering each other to be the greatest that we can be and not be enslaved in the business, because we with appropriate architecture and design can create a system to work on the business instead of in the business. And that's really what my passion is I am able to convey and lead and coach anyone who's willing into around them helping create basically their dream world, and not being just enslaved and trading their time for money, having to be trapped in the system, but they can be kind of above it, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wanted to go back to that point that you made about people taking that step from separation into cooperation, and that our businesses right now are set up as separate entities with their own goals and not really unified or linked. Like, a couple things come to mind. One is like the unity and the linking that happens with roots of, you know, aspen trees or mycelia with mushroom communities. Like they're super integrated and they work incredibly synergistically with each other. And that provides a lot of resilience. And the other thing that comes to me is that, because I think the important thing to do is to help people to realize, like, how can that be? Because I think most people have a distrust come up when they hear, oh yeah, drop your guard and trust people and share with them, right? And my understanding is, in living in community, that for the people that have experimented in intentional community, one of the big problems is how that everyone can feel really good about everyone else's contribution. That otherwise there's like some people heavy on the giving, other people heavier on the receiving end of things. And that's just a natural human concern in any system or dynamic at work or at home. But the other thing I wanted to say is that for me as a mediator, it has been amazing to witness that when people, because the system that I teach, the nonviolent or empathic communication, the core of it is for us to start to learn how to give genuine empathy to each other. And empathy means really tuning into feelings and tuning into what someone else is needing or wanting or valuing in a situation. And what I find is that what you speak about, that in what you call the matrix, and I want you to go back and tell people what you mean by that too, because not everyone uses that term probably in the same way you do. So the separation, yes, when we are separate, what I've seen in my mediation and my coaching sessions is that when we feel separate, we are basically rigid and stingy, and our solutions are limited. We are not creative or generous. The creativity, the generosity, the innovation comes after people have really feel gotten and cared about. Like, you get me and you care that I get my needs met too.
Right.
When that's established, then it can happen. So I wanted to throw that in because I have seen it in a very practical 4-step kind of process. I've seen it unfold in these last years as I've been working with people in either mediation situations or coaching situations. So I wanted to add that to kind of solidify that. And whatever you want to say about that, and then also just at some point weave back to what is matrix.
Right, absolutely. So yeah, what you just spoke of is fundamental in building the system that's being envisioned. When you don't know yourself and you have not taken the time to really find out your own truth, then there's this disconnect, and it's like, let me put it another way, I'm going to reverse it. When we know our own truth and we know what we want and feel safe in our truth, then there's nothing that can impose on us, and we are able to set our own boundaries and hold our own space. So I feel like that is pretty much the fundamental attribute, is taking 100% responsibility for how we react and then deciding how we want to move forward. So it's never anyone else's fault. It's only each of us discovering our own truths and then discovering if those truths align with each other in co-creation.
Yeah. And that takes a lot, and from my experience, it takes a lot of reflection and a lot of faith to do that. And support from others, and maybe, of course, like all of it, like anything we learn, like modeling from others.
Yeah, it's not a job that can be done by ourselves. And when we just show up in full transparency and truth, seeking to understand ourselves and others, and come in compassion and love being looking out for everyone involved, not just the self or not just the other, not sacrificing the self, but it's a team collaboration, then then yeah, it's a process, but as long as we just hold that presence, the light of our consciousness will then transmute that emotion that is blocking and distorting our clear vision of what we desire to create.
Can you do any examples in your own life come to mind of that process for you, Jon, that you can call forth so that people can grab hold of it a little more clearly?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, over the last 3 years since I left the last company I was with, it's basically been a process of questioning everything and unprogramming everything that I believed. And it's quite simple that how we operate, how we respond is based on the instructions and programming that we were given by our parents, by society, by all the interactions that we've had, and how we react and choose to respond. So we have this, and it's a collective paradigm that we have been programmed with and understand, and we operate by that. So in the realization that that is the case, and with the impeccability of our words as we unprogram those of lack and limitation and fear, and reprogram ourselves of the awareness that we are the God consciousness, we are the co-creators all together, that are the manifestors of our reality, we are able to gain our full power back, a full self-realization, to know that we are the light, and together in love, we create together. So to specifically answer your question in an exact thing, right now, for whatever reason, it's not coming out. I'm just being guided to speak what I'm speaking. So specifically, anything that says that we are limited and that invokes fear in us is something to be looked at. Now, fear can be guidance and lead in a certain direction, but really inquiring on any fear and limitation to then transmute that fear, because as we transmute through all the fear, then all there is left is love. So let's see. Specifically, yeah, I guess for whatever reason, there's no specific answer right now. If I guess ask another question.
Yeah. Well, I think what I was wondering is, because you are starting to, my understanding is that you took a lot of time off, but now you're in this process of reintegrating into the world. So I'm imagining you're just starting to be presented with opportunities for collaboration with people. And of course, whenever that happens, we're always up against, again, people like ourselves who have been trained for separateness. But you're carrying this other vision right now, this other possibility. And so I'm curious about what that intersection looks like. What is that process?
Gotcha. Yeah,
what do those conversations sound like?
Thank you. Yeah. We're building the bridge essentially here between, the matrix, which is to define that, it's the current established operating system on how we believe we should act and who we are. Everything from what it is to be a man, to what it is to be a woman, and what it is to be American, whatever it is. And America has infiltrated the entire world to dominate with this, predominant Christian and Islamic tyrant king God that forces us to bow down to him, or we're going to be sent to hell for eternity. And, to me, that's a very insecure God. God is love, and he is, or she is. It's, omnisex, everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the bridge that we're building is merging home and work. So right now, we're looking at creating a live, work, play lifestyle. So I am in the middle looking at, okay, do I hire a bunch of people in the matrix, the system, working 9 to 5s, and build that way? or do I go to what we call the light workers, the people that aren't part of the 9 to 5 and have freed themselves from that, and build from there? And they both have their pluses and minuses. And I'm really struggling right now. I don't know if struggling is the right word, but I am experiencing frustration in the light workers because there is a lot of internal processing that's being faced, and they know that they need to dive into the emotional pain body, and that is of utmost importance. However, we also need to be objective in business and be on timelines and be in this clock schedule to operate and function and get tasks done. So there's an internal conflict on that. So it's really, compartmentalizing, so to speak, and realizing that, yes, it is important for us to process. However, there are times that we make a compartment where it's not about processing, it's just about objectively getting tasks done. And then also an allowance of leniency if there is something that comes up to, spend the time to hold that space. So it's not just business. And then bridging the gap, also of the feminine and the masculine, the yin and the yang energy within business of action, task-oriented doing, and then envisioning, creating, and going to the law of attraction of holding the vibrations of the dream and then pulling that in, which is where I feel that the most power comes from. And as we stay in that energy as prominent and primary, then that attracts the things in that we can then go into our masculine and execute the tasks that unfold each day.
Wow. Huh. Very interesting. It's interesting too with what's emerging with the younger generations about omnisex, or like a much wider, I guess I just see it as a much wider understanding of human sexuality. And what you just spoke of, I've never quite linked it myself in my own mind and heart, I think, to the importance in having a balanced business, corporate kind of life, commerce, because maybe corporate's not the answer either, but, a commercial life, the way we exchange goods and services, that balance and that ability to, if I'm understanding you right, the ability to be in the masculine, the task-oriented, planning, executing mode, and then being able to fully dive deeply into the more receptive, ephemeral, really creative places in our minds and our hearts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like that's what is spoken of in the term Zen. It's the middle ground. It's, the border of staying in the light body, meaning staying of that of the high vibrations, yet not suppressing the emotions that are there. So going to the border and feeling them and then pulling them into the light. And it's a constant transmutation and what they call ascension of clearing out the weight of the pain body, that as we bring the light of our consciousness to it, it's integrated back, the shadow is integrated back into the light.
I'm just going to reflect that back, because I think that's quite a concept, and so what I'm hearing you say is that you see this process in the psyche, right, as one of being aware of I think I envisioned, or you said it, like the borders, like you go to the borders where the shadow areas are of the hurt, the pain, the emotional pain body, and you bring it into the light, and that itself, doing that repeatedly, lightens the weight of those shadows and has you ascend in your whole consciousness or vibration, or however you want to say it. Right. So do you want to say anything about the actual practice of that? Like, what does that look like to bring whatever's in my shadow boundaries into the light? Number one, as an individual, And then what we're talking about is this ecosystem, this commercial structure even, that we have to do at the organizational level somehow, right?
Yeah.
And then probably do it at the organizational level, in other words, with each other as individuals, but then also the organization. I'm imagining, we are in a fractal universe, right? So I'm imagining the organization, and I know this is true with nonviolent communication, that we work it as individuals with what our feelings are about our core needs and how to meet those. But there's also a way to do that for the organization, and it's different needs and a little different process.
Right.
So like, what's maybe the practical application of that? Like, what does life look like when we're doing that?
Sure. I mean, the funny, ironic thing is it's very basic instructions, and then it's really application. And realistically, the only thing we need to do is become present and go into that of feeling instead of thinking. So we are constantly identifying with the thoughts that are in our heads and the emotions that we experience, when that isn't who we are. We are merely observing those things.
Yeah.
We are the space, the yin energy, the emptiness that is consciousness that holds whatever characters and play plays out through our space and our consciousness. So it's really, they would call it in psychology disassociation, and it's termed a bad thing, when realistically it's reassociation with the light body of high frequency, the ascended frequency, that of the observer, knowing that we are the consciousness, God consciousness that is. So it's a brain exercise of constantly remembering and going back to here and now. And that's all it ever is. And then holding our observation on whatever is playing out, realizing that that's not us. We don't need to take it personally, but we do need to, and if we want to, hold compassion and the vibration as the highest vibration we can. Gratitude is the fuel for raising our vibration. So as we thank that which is occurring in our reality that we have deemed negative, and we actually bring gratitude to it, then that invokes the feeling, the vibration of what we are deeming love. Love is a confusing worm, so word worm. That was funny.
Wormhole.
Yeah, it is. So compassion, I feel like, is a better or a more aligned word. So holding compassion for the one who is experiencing and feeling that, we then bring that shadow into the high vibration of that compassion. And so over and over again, no matter what it is, we remember. And that is what meditation is. And meditation, for me, the classic meditation is very confusing, and they want you to sit and do, I don't know, the meditations that are led are not for me. For me, life is a meditation. And meaning, as I'm driving, if I want to meditate on visual, I identify a tree and I look at the beauty of the tree, and as I drive by, I keep my attention on it, and then I identify a new landmark and a new one, of course, always omnipresent on all the traffic around. But so that is sight. And then the other, as we do when we're sitting still, is focus on breath in and out. Or you can focus on smell, or the way that your butt feels as you're sitting on the seat and that pressure. And as we train our minds to go back to that place of complete attention over and over again, knowing that it will drift and it will go off, and thoughts will come in and we'll get distracted, and then we'll remember again. So we know that every time we forget, that's an opportunity for us to remember, not to get down on ourselves for forgetting, but to praise ourselves for remembering. And each day it's getting better and better, and we get more and more mindful every day, and now we're in the vortex, and it's just great. We're just always getting better. But then wait, that happened, and this is not good. But I'm just going to go take a break here and let go of everything and just be. Oh, everything's okay. And that's a beautiful beach right there. Wow, I'm going to go touch my toes in the water. Oh, things are okay. I don't need to solve anything right now. I'm just going to feel good. And then as we go back into that and we release those negative thoughts and whatever it is, then we come back more into presence because wait, we were looking at the ocean and touching our feet in the sand and the water. So wait, we're present again. And that's all we need to ever do.
Mm. Yeah. And I'm guessing, so I'm trying to kind of move the video forward and of the video of your projects forward and imagining taking, what do you think that you will take of your experience? Do you think it is primarily the masculine, the task orientation that you learned a value that you're going to be taking forward into this new creation? Like, who is it that you were that's going to be valuable to you in your next projects as you
Yeah.
weave this community of this sustainable, on purpose, joyful community together?
Yeah, absolutely. So through my interactions with engaging and traveling the country over the last 3 years and my only job to be full-time self-reflection and interrogation of myself and everything that I am and every belief that I have, pressing the boundaries to everything, I have received what we call light codes or reflections from all the individuals that I've met with. And it's allowed me as a receiver to see the vision that has already been co-created by all the light workers before I came into the awakening starting. I was in 2015. It began at the end of the Mayan calendar in 2012, this new massive awakening of consciousness. And the vision of coming together as a community and creating a live, work, play lifestyle has now been downloaded to me, and I see how to create it. And my gift, my art, that is my passion and my favorite thing to be doing is building structure. And it's ironic because I do not like structure. I will not live in the structure, but it seems like people feel safe in structure. So I, as my artwork, am able to look at everything that is happening in life and create a system that makes it into a support system to symbiotically work together. So we're designing software that is based on blockchain technology, meaning that it's decentralized and replicating. So the whole is contained in the individual fractal. Meaning, like, for instance, to ground it down to actual terms, is that every computer has the complete general ledger of the system. So it's basically, it's peer-to-peer. It's not a central system. So it can't be manipulated and controlled by a central power. So by creating a blueprint for coming together and organizing, potting and tribe, essentially, we bring the power back to ourselves because we are the influence, we are the power, we have all the abundance. For instance, just to eliminate insurance, if you're paying $200 a month or whatever you're paying, you get 1,000 people, there's $200,000 a month. I mean, that is one of the biggest hoaxes there is they're scaring us and programming us with fear. So these billion-dollar insurance companies can make their billions of dollars and then sit on it in fear of losing the money because they're trapped by their money. So it's an ironic, paradigm that just is self-sabotaging.
Yeah. So what would you say makes you a unique contribution in this, in terms of who you are and what your background is?
Yeah, so very passionate and courageous, fearless. I do not I will not run away. I will always show up. I might set my boundaries and say this is not in alignment for me. But yeah, so this skill set that I have to be able to create and manifest has proven successful to me time and time again in the corporate world. Just to give reference, the last company that I co-created hit the Inc. 5000 at number 667. It's an ISP. And during the time I hired on every single employee, hired and fired on everyone. And so I have this proven track record of knowing how to, let's see, when we have to obtain assets and, let's see, how do I put it? I can put money to work. I can, if there's an asset or any sort of investment, money by itself does nothing. And money really is just a paper that says we're going to exchange something, right? So I have the ability to create positions and compartment. Take a look at a big picture item, the vision, and then chop it up and then create a timeline and tasks to be done. And then we divide the tasks among the team, and then we keep showing up in meetings and decide, okay, well, where do we leave off? What's next? What were our holdups? How can we improve? And it's all about synergy and collaboration, never throwing anyone under the bus. Every mistake is an opportunity to grow and to learn for the collective.
Nice.
So it's really about heart-based business and collaboration, which sets the corporate world apart, yet it still is about generating abundance.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really important piece, that rather than allowing people's mistakes to become these fear centers, where people just then avoid and hide things, that mistakes are embraced and learned from and moved on from. Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, then that allows for us to innovate more, because with innovation comes perceived mistakes, and really it's just contrast in our discovery, finding out the truth. So we open up every door, and then the doors that aren't for us we close, and we find the door that we wish to go through. So it's all a matter of discovery and truth.
Yeah, beautiful. That is right. That is hiding from mistakes is hiding from truth.
Yeah, so as we encourage that in the work environment, it shows much more innovation and expansion in the business, and knowing that we can, take the steps to create, and that it's all good. Everything is perfect. And when we come with that in transparency, we're not hiding anything. And then that allows us to accomplish more and be more synergistic.
Right. And kind of bringing it back towards people and relationships, because as I mentioned when we started, I really do see relationships as very core to what we're able to create in our lives. And what would you say what are the qualities of the people that you have really prized and that have been supportive in your life? What has made a difference for you?
Yeah.
If you want to name people, that's great too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, first and foremost is my partner, Kelly. So when I say partner, it's a very different dynamic. She's my best friend, and really has shown me who I am. She's reflected back and allowed it for me to feel safe in finding my truths, because I have been such a servant in the past, sacrificing myself for others and not wanting to hurt others and not really knowing what I want, but also just going with the flow and not really caring if I didn't get what I want. So I was so easygoing that really I was creating a, so to speak, hell in my life comparatively, because I wasn't requesting my desires. and assuming that perhaps my desires weren't in the highest alignment, um, and not then calling in those desires, which raises my vibration, allowing me to stay in that vortex more, to be in my world, then able to create and inspire others and be that love in the compassion vibration, then emanating more onto others. So in turn, actually discovering my desires and expressing them allows me to love myself more, then being that love, then able to love others more.
So she helped you to claim, I mean, in my language, it would be like to claim your core needs and to see their value and to go with them. And not to assume that it's going to in some way diminish other people's chances, or does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, when we want something or we desire something, so often will we have some sort of control drama attempting even unconsciously to get what we want, because we're afraid that if someone else wants something else, it's not going to align with what we want. But actually it always aligns when we come in collaboration. And it might be that we do things differently at a time, and that it's kind of compartmentalized and we both go on our own ways, and or we don't get what we want, which then sparks that emotion of lack or whatever it is, when really that's what we as the people that are taking responsibility, that's a gift for us to observe and to hold compassion for and love the one who feels that way, as Matt Kahn would say.
Love that part of us. Is that what you meant? That feels
love the one who feels that way. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, love that part of us. Same thing.
Yeah. And what's your greatest fear when it comes to relating to people? Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, it's really hard for me to answer right now. I mean, I guess classically it would be rejection. Absolutely. Fear of rejection. It's, you know, unless I'm in the experience, I'm so in the present moment right now, like I still do experience that. But when you ask it, it's almost unreal to me at this point because I'm not experiencing it.
Nice. Right? I'm imagining that feels good.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That distance. Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I've had quite the traumatic life in a lot of ways, and just have faced a lot of things that most people don't face. You know, going through those things that would be very fearful, and not attaching to them and programming myself with more fear, meaning like when we resist something, like if fear comes in and we resist it and we make stories or say we're never going to do that again or whatever it is, that's just creating resistance and then actually fueling the fear. So when we embrace the fear and allow it to come in and then love the fear or hold compassion for the fear, the one who is fearful, then there is no longer any fear.
And like at the practical level in your life, I'm imagining that was part of your process in overcoming some of the conflict that you had with people in the past, whether that be
yeah, absolutely. You know, it's fear of losing control, fear of not being accepted, fear of separation, abandonment. So yeah, I mean, as we change perspectives and take responsibility for everything, that's the craziest thing, is that's the most powerful thing that we can do. And it sounds crazy. How can I be responsible for everything? Well, we are not responsible for the actions of others, but we are responsible for ourselves and how we react to anything. And when we realize that, and no matter what anything is done in our life, we take responsibility that we chose this, and whatever is occurring because of the outside external reflection, we take responsibility for what we are feeling. Then now we have all power of everything of our reality. We could, I mean, it sounds crazy, but we could be, you know, wherever it is, this is how the people do it. Like you can be chained up and still be in heaven if you choose to reside there with your mentality and you have that mind control based on the exercises of meditation, you can create your own reality. So the same goes for anything that happens in our life, which gives us the highest power, which creates the law of attraction, which then pulls in our dreams. And then through action and faith, we manifest those.
That's a, yeah, that's big. Yeah.
Faith being just basically pretending. That's all faith is. It's funny. I'm gonna unbiblical faith. It's just
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just imagining. So I don't have to believe something to experience it. All I have to do is play through. It's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna pretend that if I think that I'm gonna get a parking spot in the front of the movie theater, I want to be right in front. I'm gonna pretend that I'm gonna get that. But then the mind comes in and say, no, you're not gonna get it. Oh wait, okay, so that's okay. I love you person that feels like you're not able to manifest, and I'm just playing a game here to pretend that this is going to happen, and then really being real that if you don't really believe it, that's okay, but like being aware of that one who doesn't believe it and being real and exploring it, then we, through this pretending this is my experience, then those things happen. And with Kelly, when I met her 10 months ago, I'm this analytical, logicking, reasonable person, and it happens to be my last name. I'm Jon Reason. So, you know, Kelly talking about, you know, all the mystics, and me like, okay, well, yeah, I don't quite believe that. It doesn't make any sense to me. And yet being open to pretend, and I actually submitted my will and my direction to her in pretending, which was so painful. It freaked me out. We went on a road trip traveling the country 10 times, diving in thousands of hours in this talk therapy, so to speak, her leading me on this serendipitous event that occurred because I surrendered my logic to her feelings and her gut feelings on where we should go, which drove me insane in the beginning, but then showed me that this actually works.
Wow. Say whatever else you want to say about that, because I have not heard a man or woman talk about running that level of an experiment in their relationship, especially a new relationship like that.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was interesting. I was talking with her on the phone. We met at a teacher training for this moving meditation game called Peace Sticks, and we didn't really connect too much there, except in a pretty powerful eye gaze. But there was nothing really more from there, except that we were both helping the proprietor, the owner, the inventor of the game, Shine Rilling. We were helping him create a manual for what he was doing. So we started working on that together. She living in South Carolina, me here in Ventura, California. And then when we connected on the phone one time, she's very intelligent, and we're doing this manual together, and then she would say what I perceived at the time as wacky things, like talking to a tree, or the fairies talked to her, or whatever it was. And like, okay. But then out of that, this sensation and feeling and experience of what she's telling me and things that she's saying that are hitting my heart so deeply, and it's like she's seeing inside of my soul, but then there's this perceived craziness that is occurring, but it's real to me. So I'm like, okay, I gotta see what this is about. And I've read about mystics. That's Jesus was a mystic. All the greats were mystics. So really having interest in that, choosing to, because of the seeds that were planted and the experiences that I had with her, to really fully dive into and go on a journey, because what did I have to lose? 3 years ago, I resigned as CEO of the internet company. In turn, over time, my wife at the time left because we weren't aligned anymore with my new spiritual awakening. All of my old friends cleared out of my life, and I went through a tremendous dark time until reconnecting with what we call tribe, people of this awakening consciousness, realizing that we are coming together and it's inevitable and it's being built and we're all contributing to it. So once I connected with tribe, then being invigorated by having people reflect and seeing the same thing that I'm seeing, that then led me into, being really interested into this mysticism because it was occurring. And then her being willing and aligned to show up and dive deep. And, really she's the craziest person I've ever met besides me, like literally, like she's the only one who can match me in craziness. And the things that we do, would be definitely deemed unsafe to most people, even in dance, as you've probably seen.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's really invigorating and enlivening and mysterious, and what a beautiful description of crossing that bridge from the more masculine linear side into the feminine, with surrender. And now, thinking back when you said it made me insane, but I realized, since you're one of the craziest people besides Kelly, that being driven insane is actually just a strengthening of who you are.
Yeah, well, what I mean by insane is that I do not fit in the instructions of the matrix system. I do not abide by the matrix system limitations, and therefore judgment is made from the matrix based on how I live, because I'm not in accordance to the values and instructions and who it is to be a man in America, an entrepreneur. I do not fall into those characteristics, and psychology would say that, I'm disassociated or whatever these things are. But the funny thing is that this is the merging of science and mysticism. This is all, you in the forefront of physics, quantum physics, it says the same exact thing as mysticism, and it's particle duality. We are light, a wave, both the same time as we are a particle, an atom. So, in that, quantum physics also proves that through our mentality, as we observe a wave/particle, it turns into particles. So through our mentalism, we do have control over matter in this world, which is what mysticism says. Jesus says, you will move mountains if you have the faith of mustard seed. So it's only the illusion that we are separate from God that inhibits us from being able to make those ineffable creations that God makes. Great Spirit, the all.
Mm. Yeah. It's a nice place to land.
So yeah, we are at the crossroads. The time is now, and we are coming together in collaboration. It's very exciting, and looking forward to it all. And loving this moment right now.
Yeah, me too. I see that in the Q&A we don't have any questions, but I think that's because it's hard to know what to ask.
I guess the real important thing is to ask what we desire. That is really it. And it's funny going through that exercise with people. That's one of the things that I do, and seeing how aloof and how people keep going back to what's going to limit. But now we know, and we become aware of that. And so now we, with these new instructions, realize that we can create our dream, picture it out, bring it into physical, draw it out, write it. And then as we continue to feel how that feels to live that dream, then through that power of the subconscious, as we unprogram all the limitations that are installed in our subconscious, the power of that magnetism of the subconscious pull into our lives each day the aligned things to accomplish our dream, and everything that is perceived to be limiting us and stopping us from reaching that goal is actually a gift of contrast to realize what we want, to align our desires more and more and to hone in exactly what we want. So, you know, that's really it. Let's figure out our dreams. And I'm here to help empower each and every individual coming in love and passion, truth, and transparency to accomplish their dreams. And that's what Beyond Reason is. It's a business development and product launching company for conscious business and communities for us all to come together and co-create together.
Yeah. So I think I captured what you were saying about that, like a pulling it in from the subconscious, that when you become upon those obstacles, like kind of in your example of manifesting a parking space at the theater, like what you had said, like embrace the mind that says, no, that can't happen to me, and go back into pretend and imagining and feeling into what that feels like. And then slowly over time, you're creating it. And that anyway, that mind that says, no, you can't, is a contrast for you. Right. It actually helps you refine this act of manifesting the parking place.
Right. So
you what it's not.
Right. That's a perfect example. So let's go through that and play that out. So I choose that I'm going to pretend that I'm going to get a parking spot, and it's going to be right at the front of the theater. And then I'm like, okay, it's going to be it. It's going to be it. And then I get there and it's not there. And it's like, oh, see, it's not here. I knew that wouldn't work. Well, there you go. You knew it wouldn't work and you feel disappointed. So love the one who feels that way. Bring compassion to that and try again. And then over and over, as you continue to do that through this combination of mentalism and holding consciousness with the emotions within us, then we clear out everything to pull in what's in our highest alignment. And sometimes a parking spot in the front isn't of our highest alignment. And actually, if we would have parked there, a door would have opened into us and we would have got a ding. So really surrendering to the higher authority of the all, God, Great Spirit, is really the final, thing, is that we don't granularly know everything because we're down here. So, but having that faith that, what we are envisioning and what we are dreaming is coming into reality, but the details are to be discovered upon how that plays out in the movie role of our existence in our life.
Mm-hmm.
Movie role meaning like it's a play playing out in our vision, our senses.
And we only have one, like as you said, the granular, smaller view of it, but we can we can sensitize ourselves to the intelligence that has the wider perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it's again going back to feeling. It's all about feeling, and through mentalism, we point back to our feelings. Through thinking, we point back to our feelings, and then as we feel, we can, as we go into the tasks that we need to accomplish, like writing a paper or whatever it is, those things play out. And who are we to say if, that paper wasn't accepted or it didn't work out, and we name it bad, and then that bad thing happened. But really, those were just gifts for us to experience that feeling, to love the one who feels that way, to ascend and come more into our light body. And then because we went through those two things, and now the third thing was exponentially better than those two deemed bad things, which were gifts for us to heal and then to be led to the thing that changed our lives forever.
And this process came to you through your delving into the mysticism with Kelly in the past 10 months, would you say? Is that what?
I mean, it came through grace from God in surrendering my identity, myself, to the greater good of all, no longer operating in that of separation and selfishness. I had a massive awakening 3 years ago, and that's what led me to resign from the internet company. It was a spontaneous just realization that changed my perspective forever. Having a completely different reality and paradigm than I had the day before, crushing any sort of judgment that I could ever have on anyone. Because if I believed something so strongly one day before, now I believe something completely different, how can I base my reality on anything? I can't judge anything because everyone's reality is equal. So in that, I surrendered my judgment, and just going to inquiring and seeking to understand, and this, being like children, curious about the world, and 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 knowing that I don't know the answer really, in one sense, yet I do know my truth and what I desire, and that I'm perfect exactly how I am. And through, yeah, tons of books that I was divinely guided to, of from quantum physics to self-realization to the law of attraction. The Celestine prophecy was a huge one for me, as well as the Four Agreements. So yeah, I have a whole library of books that really are a pathway to unprogramming and reprogramming, which we are going to be writing manuals on.
Yeah. And you mean that by that the programming of the human psyche?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry, we're already out of time, Jon. We could go on. I could go on and on. It's amazing. I really appreciate the depth with which you've shared, and I think maybe for some listeners it's maybe going to be challenging to kind of extract the exact practices and principles, but I think you actually did a really good job of helping us to see some of those nuances of the process. Especially for me, one of my big takeaways is that of really loving and embracing with compassion the part of self that quote unquote is negative, having a negative experience. And I that's a big takeaway. And is there anything else that you would like the listeners to take away from this conversation? Is there some way to summarize that for you?
Yeah, absolutely. You are awesome, each and every one of you. We are here in this together, and let's have compassion for ourselves and for others, and take that responsibility. And here we are. I love you. Thank you. Thank you.
Got that. Thank you. And do you want to say anything about how people might want to reach you for more information or to connect about your projects?
There's going to be a huge launching of the company. It's going to go, very public, so to speak. So at this time, we're really in the incubator stage, developing the business, first launching to the business, we have a video production and online marketing company. We're launching, turning into the business development company, and we're launching we have a green screen room and full audio video production room. So yeah, we're going to be launching through social media in a large way. So as we do and we're ready, everyone will know. So at this time, I'm Jon Reason, or actually just Jon, last name Reason. I'm on Facebook if you want to hit me up. Love to say hi, and otherwise, yeah, it will be presented here shortly.
Yes, and actually, that one of the intriguing pieces for me is the piece about kind of recasting social media with this kind of consciousness. So I'm super excited for that, and we definitely want to have you back explaining more of these projects as they unfold.
Thank you. I look forward to it.
Yeah, me too, Jon. Thank you so much. And thanks for all of you for listening. Oops, there was a question there on the Q&A. Oh, well. The question was, do you have a model for the Beyond Reason business? Are there other businesses like this that you've seen, other models at all?
Yeah, there's bits and pieces I've seen all over, so many different pieces to the puzzle, and they're all happening. And basically, the vision that I am seeing is a unification of all of them. So no, I have not seen any one with the exact instructions and blueprints that I'm seeing. And that's all that this is the sacred geometry design of how to do business, designing the corporation to be completely transparent while all proceeds go back into the mission and movement of coming together. So it's called a social enterprise, generating money, but turning all proceeds into that of humanitarian efforts. So yeah, so that's really the sword that separates that of the Matrix and that of the New Earth, is the design for the all.
That's like something that downloaded to me, I think, when I was very young, the possibility of that, not the mechanics of it, but the possibility of it. So I'm in deep resonance with who you be and what you do. So thank you. And thank you for that question. Beautiful question. Sorry I didn't see it till earlier. Okay. Be well to everybody. Signing off from the Peace Parlor. If you want to know more about the peace work that I do, that's at peaceable.com. So that's about repairing relationships, and it's about creating connections with people that are deep, respectful, loving, cooperative, synergistic. So peaceable.com, peaceabl.com. And I'm Catherine Cooley signing off. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.